I had been married to my wife for 5 years when I first met Sarah at work. I came to work, nothing foreshadowed trouble. The director enters the hall where we all worked and introduces a new employee. I didn't pay much attention to her back then. At the time, I thought she was just another colleague. But the more I got to know her, the more I realized that there was something special about her. I started paying more and more attention to her. She had a confidence and energy that I found attractive, and I enjoyed talking to her about work and life in general. When she talked about her problems, I saw a part of myself in her problems. It wasn't until I started noticing her more and more that I realized that I had feelings for her. At first, I tried to ignore these feelings, telling myself that it was just a passing attraction. But the more I tried to push them away, the stronger they became. Every day in my life it became more and more. When she entered my office, I did not have time to catch her with my eyes, but already smelling, I realized that she had entered. Every day I looked forward to meeting her at work and found excuses to go to her desk and strike up a conversation. I caught myself thinking about her more than I should have, and I caught myself daydreaming about what it would be like to be with her. But the worst thing I saw was that not only was I attracted to her, but she was also interested in me. It got me more and more stressed. Over time, my attraction to Sarah only intensified. I found myself becoming jealous when she talked to other men in the office, and I began to feel possessive of her. It was then that I realized that what I felt was more than just a passing infatuation. I was slowly falling in love with her. I liked her perfume, I paid attention to her new nails, her style of clothing, and all sorts of small details. But as much as I wanted to be with Sarah, I knew I couldn't act on my feelings. I was married and loved my wife very much. So I tried to keep my distance from Sarah, telling myself it was for the best. But, as I soon learned, resisting the attraction I felt for her proved to be a difficult task. No matter how hard I tried to distance myself from my feelings, I couldn't do it and attracted even more. Every day I blamed myself for being married to a beautiful girl, and my thoughts sank into another. One night, Sarah and I had to work late at the office to finish a project. She herself chose me as her partner. We ordered takeaway, and I didn't even notice her opening a bottle of wine, and our working atmosphere started to turn romantic. And before I could see it, it was already too late. This atmosphere immersed me in my feelings. We were alone in the office, and as the night wore on, we talked more and more intimately than ever before. I completely forgot that a loving wife was waiting for me at home. I did not notice how my hand fell on her shoulder and we sat almost in an embrace. Then, out of nowhere, Sarah leaned over and approached me to fix my hair. We crossed eyes, froze for a couple of seconds, and she kissed me. I was discouraged and shocked. I didn't even have time to think about how to resist the attraction that I felt for her. Sarah took off my shirt, her eyes burned passionately. I felt very good. I didn't want to think about anything that surrounds me. That night we slept together. But I didn't feel good for long. The next morning, I woke up next to Sarah, feeling a mixture of excitement and guilt. I knew that what we had done was wrong, and I could not bear the thought of hurting my wife, whom I loved very much. I wanted to rewind everything and quit the day Sarah came to work for the first time. But at the same time, I couldn't deny the attraction I felt for Sarah. My fantasies brought me to such a point that I already thought how good it would be if Sarah was instead of my wife. But all these thoughts killed and tormented me from the inside. For a while, we kept our romance a secret, meeting outside of work and continuing to sleep together. I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. The physical and emotional bond we shared was too strong to resist. One day I walked into Sarah's office and, as usual, she kissed me on the cheek. When I returned home, my wife looked at me very surprised. Disappointment was visible on her face. I did not understand what happened and what was wrong. As it turned out, she saw the remnants of lipstick on her cheek, and immediately understood everything. But I managed to get out. I said that we were shooting a lipstick commercial, and with a sly smile, I said that it was better not to wipe it off if she did not want me to be kissed again tomorrow. Since I work in a PR agency, she believed me and calmed down. But I didn't calm down. Over time, guilt began to eat away at me from the inside. I knew what I was doing was wrong and I couldn't bear the thought of hurting my wife any more than I had already done. I was very afraid to admit it to her, so I started to distance myself from Sarah, avoiding her at work and trying to end the affair. Through the prism of time, looking at this situation, I understand how stupid I was. But by then it was already too late. The damage has already been done. My wife will soon find out about my infidelity, and my life will never be the same again. I made a global mistake in my life and time cannot be returned back. It didn't take long for the wife to notice that something was wrong. I was distant and preoccupied, and I often came home late from work without a good explanation. She started asking questions and I tried to brush her off, but she persisted. Constant surveillance began. I often noticed how she was following in my footsteps, but pretended not to notice her. She obviously suspected something, and perhaps even knew about what was happening, and someone appeared on my side. I felt pressure from all sides. I understood that any severe punishment would be fair in my direction. But all this was clearly not fair to my wife. She clearly did not deserve a husband like me. Kriya, I was once a loving, exemplary husband, a wonderful family man. Before, every day, when I came home from work, I gave her flowers, called her for walks, to the movies. We felt like family. Now it's all gone, and I so dream about it again. I am so sorry for what I did. One night she confronted me directly. She asked if I cheated on her, and it was like time stopped for me. I replayed all the moments with her and Sarah in my head in an instant. I couldn't deny it anymore. I broke down and confessed everything. I told her about my affair with Sarah, how it started and how it went on for several months. My wife was devastated. She cried and yelled at me, asking how I could do something so cruel and selfish. I had no excuse and I knew that I had caused her pain that would never fully heal. I was entirely to blame, 100%. It was stupid to deny it. I looked at my tearful wife and was morally destroyed. I knew she didn't deserve to be treated like this. It was very hard for her to hear. That evening we talked for hours, trying to figure out what to do next. My wife was hurt and angry, but she loved me and wanted to try to work things out. I was amazed because I thought that my wife would never forgive me for such a betrayal. I am grateful to her for her warmth and kindness. You will not meet people like her in this world, and she clearly does not deserve to have a husband like me. But she gave me an ultimatum: either end Sarah completely and get on with rebuilding our marriage, or leave and never come back. I knew what to do. I ended Sarah by cutting off all contact and trying to put the affair behind me. It was a difficult and painful process, but over time, my wife and I began to work through our problems and rebuild our relationship. But the case changed everything. The trust between us was shattered and we both had to work hard to get it back. I knew I had made a terrible mistake that had hurt the person I loved more than anything in the world. It was a lesson that I will never forget and that defined the rest of my life. After the novel, my life has never been the same. My wife and I have worked hard to repair our relationship, but it has been a long and painful process. We went to counseling, discussed everything and tried to learn to trust each other again. But even when we made progress, I couldn't help feeling guilty and ashamed of what I had done. I hurt the person I loved most in the world, and I knew that I could never fully make amends with her. I am sure that my wife also left a residue, and even if she forgives me 100%, she will never forget in her life what I did in those merciless months. This novel also affected my career. Sarah and I were caught by a colleague who reported us to our boss. We were both fired, leaving a stain on my reputation that will stay with me for years to come. Even after I lost my job, guilt and shame continued to haunt me. I lost the trust of my wife, colleagues, and myself. I struggled with depression and anxiety, and I couldn't help feeling that I had done irreparable damage to my life. But over time, I learned to forgive myself. I knew that what I had done was wrong, but I also knew that I could not change the past. I began to focus on the present and on being the best husband and person I could be. It wasn't easy, but with time and effort, I was able to rebuild my marriage and start building my career. This novel taught me a painful lesson, but it also made me a stronger and more compassionate person. I knew that I could never fix the mistakes I made, but I also knew that I could move forward and try to get better every day. Over time, my wife and I were able to put the affair behind us and begin to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, and there were times when we both struggled with trust and communication, but we were determined to make it work. We continued to go to counseling and tried to spend more time together. We talked about our goals and dreams, and we started working together as a team to achieve them. One of our biggest goals was to start a family, and we were thrilled when we found out that my wife was pregnant. This news brought us even closer, and we were glad to start a new chapter of our lives, completely forgetting about the old one. The birth of our child was a turning point for me. It was a reminder of love and devotion to my family, and it gave me a new sense of purpose. I knew that I could never undo the mistakes I made, but I also knew that I could be a better husband and father. I also worked hard to rebuild my career. It wasn't easy, but I was able to find a new job and start rebuilding my confidence and reputation. I tried to be honest and open with my colleagues and tried to be a positive and supportive team member. Over time, the novel became a distant memory. It was a painful and difficult experience, but it also taught me valuable lessons in love, trust, and forgiveness. I knew that I would never be perfect, but I also knew that I could always strive to be better. In the end, this affair changed me in ways I never imagined. It made me confront my own shortcomings and weaknesses and taught me to be more empathetic and compassionate towards others. It was a painful chapter in my life, but it also changed me. Looking back on this case, I realized that I learned many valuable lessons from this experience. Here are a few of the most important ones. 1. Honesty is important in a relationship. The affair began because I was not honest with my wife about my feelings and needs. I learned that honesty is the foundation of a healthy and strong relationship. Everyone wants the truth from others, but no one wants to be honest themselves. 2. Communication is key. The case also highlighted the importance of communication. My wife and I did not communicate well, and this led to misunderstandings and resentment. I learned that it is important to communicate openly and honestly with my partner. And imagine, when we began to communicate more, it was as if I fell in love with her for the second time. I learned a lot about her that I did not know in the past years of living with her. 3. Responsibility is important. When I cheated on my wife, I had to take responsibility for my actions. I couldn't blame anyone else for what I did. I learned the importance of taking responsibility for my mistakes and trying to make things right. I was the only one to blame for my bad deed. 4. Forgiveness is a powerful tool. My wife forgave me for my infidelity, and this allowed us to move forward and repair our relationship. I learned that forgiveness is a powerful tool that can help heal even the most painful wounds. 5. Everyone makes mistakes. This novel was a painful and difficult experience, but it also taught me that everyone makes mistakes. We are all imperfect, and it is important to be kind and understanding towards ourselves and others. Ultimately, this affair became a difficult and painful chapter in my life, but it also taught me valuable lessons in love, trust, and forgiveness. I am grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow from these experiences, and I am determined to be the best husband and person I can be. Over time, my wife and I were able to move away from the affair and focus on our future together. We continued to work on our communication and trust, and we made an effort to be more present and support each other in life. One of the things that helped us move on was creating new memories and experiences together. We traveled together, tried new hobbies, and tried to spend more time together. This experience helped strengthen our bond and reminded us of love and devotion to each other. We also made an effort to be more grateful to each other and the life we lived together. We focused on the positive aspects of our relationship and tried to let go of the past. It wasn't always easy, but we were determined to make it work. Over time, the novel became a distant memory. We didn't forget what happened, but we were able to move on and focus on our future together. We were grateful for the lessons learned and strived to be the best partners we could be. Looking back on this experience, I realized that it was a painful and difficult chapter in my life, but she also taught me valuable lessons in love, trust, and forgiveness. I am grateful for the opportunity to learn and grow from these experiences, and I am determined to be the best husband and person I can be.